Wilson. I'm back again, and I've got the 2014 autumn collection of our dies to show you this time. This is the card we're going to be making. It's a beautiful, elegant, really just simple card, but has style to it, I think. I'm going to show you the products that we'll be using in today's video. First up is the new Eternal Ring Striplet. Now we're actually going to be using the cutting ring from this, the outside edge, but I want to show you that you don't have to use both pieces together. The tag from the Scandinavian border, corner, and tag set. The beautiful trailing ivy is the star of the card today. And a couple other items. We have the classic sentiment we'll be using. This is a Creative Expressions A5 stamp set. And our new Rambling Blossoms embossing folder, A4 size. Let me move these out of our way, and we'll get started. So I think what we'll do first is actually cut our aperture. And for this, we're going to be using, like I said, the outside edge to this cutting die. So I'm going to tape it into place with some removable tape. And I'm going to just skew it a little bit towards the left, put some removable tape on it, and we'll bring in our cutting plates. So I've got the cutting plate on the bottom with the die facing downward into it, base plate on the top, and we'll run it through the machine. Because it's a simple cutting edge, you'll hear some cracking. That's perfectly normal. So you've got a really nice aperture there. So don't forget, you don't have to use the entire die all at once, okay? Set this to the side. And we're going to do a little bit of cutting with the ivy die. Just want to show you how pretty this one is. In fact, we'll cut both pieces. There again, I taped them onto the card. This helps them keep from slipping, so you know you'll cut the entire piece. It won't slip off the edge of the card. And then I'm going to just put them on opposite corners and run them through. I'm using the Grand Caliber for my demonstration, but these dies will work in any of your regular manual type die cutting machines and the e-bosser, anything that's not an electronic type of a machine. So you've got a beautiful cut with these. Let me just get my pokey tool and we'll take it apart. We can reuse our removable tape. Got a couple little bits to poke out. Get it started. Just peel it back. It's very, very delicate, but it does come out of the die really nicely. Isn't that pretty? You have a beautiful debossed vein in there. Let me show you this one. Even a really pretty aperture on those too. So don't forget, you can always use those for later projects. Get this one started. A couple little bits there. There we go. You just need to work it back so you don't pull the stem away. You have a really, really pretty die cut. Isn't that gorgeous? I think that's stunning myself. So next thing, what we're going to do is we're going to attach this to our aperture from the back. So let me clean up, and I've got a few extras that I've cut as well, so we can play with all sorts here. So using some just regular Scotch tape, cello tape, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line these up across here. And it's kind of just your own idea of where you want them to go. I'm going to kind of zigzag them across, and then I'm going to just nip away this little bit here that will stick out. We'll put, in fact, that's just a little wide, so let's trim that. Pop that along there. And I've got two different styles of the ivy, so I think I'll just mix them across like this. There's another one. You can kind of take a look and see how it's going to look from the front. You might want to change the direction of them. Totally your call, how you'd like to put them. This one, I'm actually going to hook the bit of the leaf underneath the front of it so it'll show. I think it's real pretty like that. And that one's just a little wide too, so I'll nip that away. Pop that there, and I think I'll just use a little teeny bit on the top here, so you can trim these down if you like to. Just maybe across the top like this. That'll look nice. I've got a bit of open area. I'm going to put a background behind that, so I want some of that to show. So we're going to come back to this in a few minutes. Using a piece of milk-colored card and the Rambling Blossoms embossing folder, I'm going to run this through my grand caliper. Now the sandwich we're going to use is the base plate, the folder with the card, and the raspberry plate. And I'm going to run it through the grand caliper. Now, if you find that this is too thick and it's difficult to turn through your machine, because sometimes machines are calibrated a little bit differently, then all you need to do is switch this plate for your pink embossing plate, because it is slightly thinner, and that should solve the problem. So I've got a beautiful emboss from this. Isn't that pretty? Really lovely. Now what we're going to do is highlight that with our gilding wax. And I have two gilding wax colors here. One is Enchanted Gold and one is Golden Light. Two different shades of gold. And they're really simple to use. We're just going to rub a little bit on our finger and just pick up the high spots on the embossing folder. And I'm going to do a strip along here because not all of this is going to show. Just highlight those flowers with a little bit of that wax. So I'll come back in and use the Golden Light across the top. Give it just some really, really pretty accents. Love the way that looks. And you can check to see whether you've got enough done that it'll show through your aperture nicely. I think I'll put a little bit more right through here, just so I don't miss a bit. Okay. Now, just to tidy up my finger a little bit, I've got one of the Grindboss wipes, and that will take that right off of there. You can also use a finger dauber if you prefer. Not a problem. Okay. Put our lids back on our gilding wax. Set them to the side. Now, I've gone ahead and done one ahead of time where I've added some mounting foam to the back of this piece to raise it up for dimension. So let's just peel off the backing strips. And I've added a couple little pieces on some of the ivies just to keep them up a little bit more. So they are very delicate and we don't want them to squish down. And there. We'll just center this over our piece. Excuse me while I lean into the shot a little bit to make sure that I've got that on there properly. Tidy up a tiny bit. Okay, so now I've done a little extra of a background here, pierced around the edge. I've got some matting and layering with the thin mat of the Vintage Gold card and then a pierced milk mat. And now I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided tape on the back of this and put this into place. I think the piercing just gives a really pretty finish to your cards. Pop that on there. Center that. Okay. And it just needs a little bit of a sentiment, I think. So I've stamped the Thanks Ever So Much from our sentiment set. And I'm going to use the tag from the Scandinavian collection. We'll tape this into place using a little bit of the removable tape. Just get it centered. I always stamp first and then die cut afterwards. That way it can be centered in my die cut really nicely. Pop that down. Bring my plates back over. I'm going to put it onto my cutting mat. Now anytime I cut something, I try to put it along the long side of the cutting plate with that same orientation. It tends to make the rollers go down that die and cut easier. Your detailed dies will need 1 or 2 passes. That's perfectly normal. And let's just roll that back out. It's cut beautifully, but I want to add a little bit of an emboss to that to finish it off. Let's see. Okay. Oops, that way. Put the tan mat over that and the pink plate on top, and that will just give a really pretty finish to that tag. Let's just pop that out of place. You can use your tooling one to take away the extra little bits with your die cut too, which is a really nice way to clean it up, and you make sure everything's been cut that way. Take my tape off. And we'll just pop this out. Let's see. Loosen it around the edge, and then a little release hole here. We've got a bit of little swirly guys here that are very delicate, so you don't want to pull too hard on those. Gently. There we go. See how pretty that one is. I'm going to use a little bit of mounting foam on the back. Our little bits off, and we'll just finish this up. I've left a tiny little spot here where I think it looks really pretty just to overlap that a little bit. I think that's absolutely gorgeous. I think this card could be used for any occasion. You could use that for a wedding card, an anniversary, just a thinking of you. It's so simple, so elegant. I think it's beautiful, and I think your recipient will love it too. Hope you've enjoyed today's video.